This is tropical Africa, the part of Africa that little more than a century ago was the unknown interior of the continent. This too is tropical Africa, an area containing vast resources, some being developed, some still untouched. And this is tropical Africa, part of the world that is changing rapidly, a part of the world undergoing an emergence from old ways to newer ways. Emergence and vast resources, these two terms may help us to understand the lands and peoples of tropical Africa. For centuries, tropical Africa was the unknown interior of the continent. Europeans called it darkest Africa. Much of it was unexplored because of some landforms, features such as vast dry deserts that were difficult to cross, regular coastlines that provided few good natural harbors, and near the coasts, rugged highlands with swift rivers and streams which couldn't be navigated. There were other dangers that hindered exploration of tropical Africa: wild animals, disease, and tribes of people who sometimes resisted the passage of explorers. By 1850, most of the coastal lands of the continent had been explored and mapped in a general way. But the vast interior, the lands lying in the heart of Africa, were the last to be explored. This was the unknown interior, tropical Africa, the unexplored region. In the last half of the 19th century, this region was opened up by Europeans. From England, France, Germany, and other countries came traders, soldiers of fortune, and Christian missionaries. Among these 19th century travelers were Henry M. Stanley and David Livingstone, who penetrated deep into tropical Africa. Reports published in European newspapers increased interest in this part of the continent. To the nations of Europe, tropical Africa offered vast natural resources and lands for expansion of trade. In the central portion of the continent, lying between these two geographic boundary lines, is the vast area of tropical Africa. To see the kinds of resources found in tropical Africa, we'll divide it into four main geographical regions: the coastal lowlands, the Congo Basin with its surrounding highlands, the eastern highlands and plains bordering the Indian Ocean, and the Sudan along the southern margin of the Sahara. The Sudan, the northern region of tropical Africa, is a hot region with a long dry season. In the northern Sudan are nomads who move from place to place in search of water and fresh pasture for their livestock. The scarcity of water limits farming, so grazing is a common activity here. Farther south, where there's a longer rainy season, we find savanna country with taller grasses, shrubs, and more trees. Here there is some farming, and we see crops such as corn growing in small plots. But simple tools and methods limit food production. Crop yields are low. But many things can be done to develop the food resources of the Sudan region. On the eastern side of tropical Africa is another region with many untapped resources: the eastern highlands and plains. The cooler climate of these high grassy plateaus is favorable for livestock and for many kinds of crop farming. Livestock are an important resource of the eastern highlands. Some of the livestock farmers who have settled here are Europeans from Great Britain and other parts of Europe, and some are native Africans. The Europeans have established large livestock ranches as well as crop plantations. Coffee bushes, raised on the cool highland slopes, produce coffee beans for export. Spices, such as cloves, raised on the nearby island of Zanzibar, are another export. Sisal fiber, used in making rope, is one of the leading exports of tropical Africa. Another highland crop is cotton. These bales of cotton are being loaded at a port on the Indian Ocean. These ships will pass through the Suez Canal to Europe or around South Africa into the Atlantic Ocean. Also shipped from Indian Ocean ports are products from the vast supply of minerals found in many parts of the eastern highlands. This is a copper mine in the Ruwenzori mountain range. Copper is one of the most abundant mineral resources which are being developed here. Yet many valuable deposits of ore are still undeveloped, part of tropical Africa's vast mineral resources in the eastern highlands. Westward from the eastern highlands is the immense Congo Basin, lying 1,000 and more feet above sea level. The waters of this basin flow into the Congo River, which flows almost 3,000 miles to the Atlantic Ocean. Bordering the Atlantic are the coastal lowlands, also called the Guinea lowlands or the Guinea coast. These narrow coastal plains are regions of fertile agricultural lands. In the humid tropical climate, plants such as banana, coffee, peanut, and cacao grow well. These cacao trees are growing on a well-kept plantation. Cacao beans, the source of cocoa, are shipped overseas from the Guinea coast. A common sight in the coastal lands is a mill such as this. Here, palm nuts are processed for the valuable palm oil they contain. The clusters of palm nuts are broken apart, then sifted to remove bits of dirt, and then put into a cooker where the nuts are boiled to extract the palm oil. Palm oil, used in making margarine and soap, is a valuable export of tropical Africa. Inland from the west coastal lowlands is the Congo Basin. In this vast region is one of the key resources of tropical Africa: water power. The water power of the Congo Basin, much of it still unharnessed, may someday provide power for much of tropical Africa. Much more developed are the mineral resources of the Congo Basin. This is a smelting plant where copper ore is refined into copper ingots for export. Other mines produce manganese, cobalt, tin, and ores of rare metals. One of the important industries is the mining of uranium ore. Uranium ore exported from the Congo Basin is used as a source of atomic power in the modern world. And yet, some products of tropical Africa remind us of traditional life and age-old crafts. This ivory carver is fashioning a decorative piece from an elephant tusk. This will be another of the many kinds of products shipped on the Great Congo River. Deep enough to handle large boats and barges, the Congo River is a vital waterway inside the Congo Basin. At ports on the Congo River, goods are transferred to railroads, which connect with seaports on the Atlantic. From these seaports go the products of the Congo Basin: palm oil and kernels, cocoa, coffee, and rare woods, as well as valuable mineral products such as copper, gold, tin, and manganese. In exchange for these resources, tropical Africa imports heavy machinery and finished goods, such as vehicles, to be used for the further development of the Congo Basin. Within each of these regions of tropical Africa are vast resources. some being used, many still to be developed. That development is part of the idea of emergence. Tropical Africa is a part of the world that is swiftly growing and changing as its people emerge from traditional ways into new ways. One way in which emergence is shown is by the growth of self-government among the people of tropical Africa. For years, Europeans controlled almost all of the countries in tropical Africa. Today, most of the countries have achieved independence, and many Africans are governing themselves. Along with this kind of emergence in the affairs of government, social changes are emerging. At a Sunday morning church service, we see a mingling of Western-style dress and native clothing, one example of changing customs. A desire for better standards of living is another part of the emergence of tropical Africa's peoples. Many are benefiting from improvements in health and sanitation, in education and vocational training. In these and other ways, the people of tropical Africa are emerging as members of an important part of our modern world. We've talked about emergence as one idea that will help us understand tropical Africa. And we've seen something of the vast resources, many of them still undeveloped. We saw that tropical Africa includes the vast Sudan region, which is mostly savanna country, the eastern highlands, rich in minerals, the warm coastal lowlands with their tropical crops, and the vast Congo Basin with its mineral and agricultural resources. In these regions, great changes are happening as great natural wealth is gradually being developed to build the emerging African nations. These young people are part of the future of tropical Africa, the vast heartland of a changing continent.